Good afternoon all. I represent the Emission Controls Manufacturers Association of India, a group of 15 companies working in the field of emissions control from automotive, non-road and stationary sources. And first of all, I thank Mr. Anil Garg as well as this organization for giving us this opportunity to talk. One of the advantages of being one of the last speakers is that advantages or disadvantages is that most of the information is already shared and you probably don't have much to add. Or also it could be that what you say is probably a summary, and my presentation will be more of a summary of what you've probably heard before. So to continue, I would however focus on our sector, which is the mobility sector. And as we all know, as a preamble, emissions and pollution from transportation and mobility has been a major concern globally and also in India. And rapid electrification of transportation segment seems to be a panacea. However, the internal combustion engine, ICE as it is popularly known, which has been the mainstay for transportation and power for stationary and agri applications, will continue to remain for a long time. This, of course, will happen due to fuels such as CNG, biofuels, future fuels that promise to be both viable as well as a practical alternative. And the following slides will focus on some of the uses that would come forward as we move along this path. So please change to the next slide, please. So talking specifically of mobility, we had three options, or do have three options principally. It's not just trucks, but any kind of mobility. First is the fossil fuels, one slide down. Which is, well, in some sense not sustainable because you cannot have an indefinite reserves of fossil fuels. It is also considered to be polluting and is gradually getting more and more unpopular. Next, please. You have now the e-mobility or electrification of vehicles, which to some extent is still immature. And one of the concerns is always the well-to-wheel in terms of pollution for the environment. And the last one then is alternate fuels, which is actually a good alternate. So down again, please. I didn't really want to show this slide, but since EVs are becoming so popular, if you look at in terms of electricity from where it comes in India, more than 65% of electricity comes from coal, which is not very good in terms of pollution. So this is where you have the well-to-wheel concern. Next slide, please. So recognizing the potential for alternate fuels, we already have done a lot of stuff, things around. We have the vision, Atmanirbhar Bharat, the use of homegrown alternate fuels, which a lot of people have spoken about. Internationally, we have the Paris COP agreement. We have local environmental pollution, which really is going to be addressed with the use of alternate fuels. There is, of course, the advantage of boosting the Indian economy with the reduction of imports and the reduction of GHG emissions. Next slide, please. As we heard Dr. Garg speak some time back about the huge monster of biofuels, we can see a huge bouquet of alternate fuels that are present for us. We have started very early in the use of this. Right from 2016, the Gazette notifications and standards for these fuels have come into place, the latest one being sometime in 2020. So I would like to talk a little bit about these from the perspective of use in vehicles, mobility, and other power sources. So please go to the next slide. So we have already started the regulatory process and the availability process for these fuels, and you can see this one represents the work that has been done so far. Next slide, please. Here is a roadmap which most of you know, and as I said, this is going to be more of a summary. We have started with the clean fuels, with the reduction of sulfur and lead in the conventional fuels, going to gaseous fuels for CNG and LPG sometime in 2000. Then we have started the biodiesel and ethanol initiatives. There's a second generation of biodiesel and diesel and ethanol, going to synthetic fuels, and in future, hydrogen fuels is now being spoken about. All of them are, well, cleaner than the fossil fuels perhaps, but they all require to some extent after treatment, and that is where we come in. Next, please. My friend and colleague, Mr. Dr. Banerjee, has spoken about SIAM. They had released a paper sometime, Vision and Recommendations, Alternate Fuels in India in 2019. These are some of the summary. He's already spoken about this, I think. Next, please. So coming to alternative fuels, and we see that the spread of biofuels and alternative fuels runs right through the mobility and powering sector, tractors, trains, shipping lines, what's it called, excavators and stationary engines, as well as now in aircraft. So there is a huge gamut available. So go to the next slide, please. So what are the various types? You have the gas-based fuels, you have the biofuels, you have hydrogen, and you have synthetic fuels. These are the 4 basic types. Next slide, please. Well, the next few slides talks a little bit about these, giving a little bit more detail. But then go to the points which show only the trucks. Please go down quickly because I don't want to spend. Most of you know of these things, perhaps. Please go down, go down, go down. Go down, not up. Yeah, go down to the applications. Yeah, stop to the vehicle one. So coming to CNG, which has been has been very popular since 2000 when we had the Supreme Court ruling. This is quite prevalent in cars, three-wheelers, as well as buses. It has certain advantages. It's very clean burning, although it has emissions in terms of NOx. It is widely popular, and in some sense, the after-treatment or pollution control for these CNG vehicles is somewhat simple, although in terms of particulate control or particulates, CNG is known to emit very fine particles, which would, in our opinion, need to have a particulate filter. Gasoline vehicles already have a gasoline particulate filter or a GPF. CNG would also require something about as we get to more and more efficient CNG vehicles. So this is as regards CNG in terms of applications. Please go down to the next slides, which shows these vehicles. These are details which I do not want to touch upon. We do not have much time. Please go down to the next one. Next one. Yeah, here we have LNG. These are applications which would be used on buses, trucks, and LCVs, rather larger vehicles, because and the advantages here are similar to those of CNG, with a disadvantage of having to have this liquefied gas being transported at cryogenic temperatures, but that still the advantages of CNG remain. This also is going to come in. Please go up one slide. Go up, go up, go up. Yeah, sorry, go down. So as we can see, the application areas are all in the coastal areas, port regions, where the transportation would be easier for these the LNG that comes from probably imports. We come to ED95, which is a blend of 95% ethanol, 5% ignition improver, which is a very good substitute for diesel in terms of efficiency. It is, please go to the next slide. Yeah, it's highly efficient with a combustion efficiency equaling that of diesel. And Automotive Research Association of India have already demonstrated an engine which is running on ED95 successfully. Next down. There has been a demo bus also running in Nagpur, which seems to be one of the fuels that would be we could look at in the future. Please go down further to the ones. That's it. We have methanol technology used in vehicles, also applicable in buses, trucks, and LCVs. This is also one of the areas, fuels which are going to be much cleaner than the fossil fuels that are in use today, and much easier in terms of after treatment. Please go down further. Next one. These are details which, here is the biodiesel ones. Again, useful for buses, trucks, and LCVs. It can be a neat blend in diesels, and although at the moment biodiesels are not very extensively used for mobility applications in India, it is possible to do that in the future. Please go down. We come to hydrogen fuels. Please go down. Okay, stop at that. Here, as we have already heard, 3 types of gray, blue, and green. This is what I think Dr. Gar was speaking about, splitting demineralized water by electrolysis and having no CO2 emitted. This is probably going to be one of the things, but of course the cost constraint is what is prevalent over here. Please go down again. Hydrogen at the moment, yeah, please stop over here. You have, sorry, go up. We have the National Hydrogen Mission, which is going to focus on making India a hub for hydrogen, green hydrogen production by, well, there's a target here given as 2030, I believe. Yeah, by 2030. Okay, we need to progress on this. I would say that, let's go down a little further. There is a summary then at the end. Please go down. Yeah, the HCNG is something that IOCL has been working on for some time, HCNG has number of advantages over normal CNG, as we can see. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, this one. So as you can see over here, this is the normal CNG with 5% HCNG, 10, 15, 18, and 20%, and that has the potential for improving 10% power, 5% improvement in economy, and a low loading CAT. That is the after treatment also is simpler. There is an issue of NOx control, but that is something that can also be controlled by after treatment. So having said that, I think these are the last slides. Please go down. There is an HCNG project. Of course, the last is, of course, the hydrogen fuel cell, which is coming in somewhat expensive, but then again, good source for hybrids, which could come into automotive use. Please go down. Please go down. We have other fuels like DME. Please go up one again. Fischer-Tropsch method fuels as well as syngas, which have, let's go to the advantages here. Yeah, DME can be used directly almost in diesel engines. It is a good diesel alternative. It is also low on emissions. Please go down. I think we are almost close to the end. There are, although, please go up. We have not used DME extensively in India, but these are already in application in Sweden and other places where engines running on DME have been working. The last summary slide. Go down, go down. Yeah. So alternative fuel choices are many in India, starting with CNG and LNG as number one, ethanol, hydrogen, as well as dimethyl ether. Please go down. Yeah, with this, our member companies, thank you very much.
Sir, just one clarification.
Yes, please.
Is CNG more toxic or diesel is more toxic?
What do you mean by toxic, frankly?
Which is very difficult to handle and cure for respiratory diseases.
One answer, a simple answer is, it is not the fuel. Well, I would not like to talk on the fuel, but yeah, the fuel when used in an engine, the emissions that come out, which have been processed by after treatment, are as clean or as dirty as each other. Which means, well, in terms of handling or the difficulty in cleaning, diesel is much more difficult to clean than CNG because it requires more complex equipment.
But road transport fuel, are the emissions of CNG as safe as it's made out to be? Or are they so difficult that it's better to keep quiet now?
Okay, there are two aspects. Number one is, in terms of emissions, the emissions are governed by the regulations. So in terms of the regulations, both diesel and CNG. Right. In terms of the actual harm, if you look at a diesel engine, you have a particulate trap, a particulate filter, which filters out 99.9% of particulates. So in that sense, it is extremely safe. In fact, at this moment, we are doing a project with ARAI to show conclusively that running a diesel engine, BS6 fitted with, or diesel engine or gasoline engine or any engine fitted with a particulate filter has the potential of actually cleaning up dirty air and emitting air that is cleaner in terms of particulates than the air that is being breathed. In terms of CNG, especially on the aspect of particulates, the gaseous part is very easy to process for both. In terms of particulates, CNG emits very fine particulates. These particulates, in terms of danger to the respiratory system, is more because they go in deeper. That's it. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. So that's why I was trying to advocate the fact that CNG would also require, technically, a particulate filter, although which is not regulated at the moment. So far. No, I would not say a hoax. Maybe unknowingly. Maybe unknowingly.
CNG buses that are flying at least are so much more noise polluting. If you stand behind or you overtake a CNG propelled bus, you cannot hear anything. So we are not counting noise as a pollution factor at all. We are being very selective. I mean, it looks as if an army tank is moving.
I think
Stand behind a CNG bus that is about to take off, you can't hear anything. The noise pollution is so much.
Basically, the point remains, the emission from CNG is so fine particulate, invisible to human eye as compared to diesel. So therefore, people think diesel is more harmful than CNG.
That's
Where
why
the
they
fact
said-
is the other way around.
That radiation is a silent killer. But pollution is a noisy one. Air pollution.
Anyway, we have to
So-
live with it for some time.
But
So
I mean,
these,
you see, you have to
Diesel, once
there
they
is
come
an
to
intelligent
5, then they come to
population.
6 maybe.
I feel that thing we've not been fair to the public.
Siam must take up this project to
Rajan sir, I completely agree with you that in our zeal to promote electric technology or maybe CNG, we have gone overboard without actually having a 360-degree communication on the subject of challenges versus the opportunities we have. So every fuel, you remember that in 2000 when we went to the Supreme Court Bhurelal Committee, we said clean fuel means what? So he first continued to say that it is CNG. But finally, somehow then LPG got added, and then there is a somehow our tendency in India that right now holier than the cow is the electric vehicle. Now whether the electricity is being generated from XYZ place or whether the
That's also
you know,
not true.
so that's the very big challenge actually.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
so there are many pathways. You see, all road leads to, there are different pathways. That's what we should
Back to
do.
the horse-driven Tonga.
There you have CNG.
I'll be there.
Thank you very much.
Grew up with.
Okay, Chairman.
Right, sir. Thank you.